This is what happened when I did spiritual detox, aka awakening to spirit. Stay tuned. Hello, this is Dihessa Bodjona. Welcome back to my channel. In the last video that I posted right here on YouTube, I shared 5 different ways that I optimize magnetic energy for manifestation in my life from my body. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'll put a link somewhere above here so that you can watch it after you've watched this one. But in that video, I mentioned spiritual detox, aka awakening to spirit, as one of the things that I do periodically to really optimize energy circulation, energy accumulation in my body. And I also in that video mentioned why that is even important to begin with, right? But in this video, what I'm going to share with you is what happened, especially the very first time that I did spiritual detox, and what happened after that. I'm going to share with you what happened on the physical layer, emotional layer, even spiritual layer for me. But before I do that, let me share with you what spiritual detox. Actually, it's by my friend Leah. She changed the name now, but for some reason I'm still calling it spiritual detox. She now calls it awakening to spirit, which I think is pretty fitting. Anyway, so what is spiritual detox? Spiritual detox is really something that happens on so many different layers. Like I said earlier, it happens on the physical layer, emotional layer, spiritual layer, and even beyond that. So the concept behind this is that our body, your body has so many memories of so many shocks that may have happened to you in your lifetime, or even before you were born, right? In your DNA, our bodies have all the memory, remembers everything, every single shock, every single good thing that has happened to it, every single shocking thing that has happened to it, right? And the way that Leah explains it, right, I'm going to share her explanation to you, and then I'll share my own experience with you around this, right? The way that Leah explains this is that inside of our body, no matter what happens, no matter what had happened, or like throughout our lives, we gather little shocks here, mini shocks, big shocks, whatever, right? Emotional shocks, things that trigger our body's reaction. And what that does is that it creates, right, lots of mucus in our organs, in our muscles, in our body, in our cells, and stuff like that. And this mucus carries the memory of these little shocks that you may have had. So case in point, for me, for example, so even though I had done a lot of work on myself, even though I had done a lot of spiritual awakening, even though I had done a lot of energetic training to share a lot of my limiting beliefs and so on and so forth, and to really become aware of so many different things that had been weighing me down in the past, and actually really learn to manage it and learn to work around it. Thing is that, and I didn't know this, the thing is that my physical body was still carrying traces of whatever had originated all these limiting beliefs and stuff like that. And so throughout spiritual detox, aka awakening to spirit, a lot of that actually lifted. And so this was pretty amazing after the detox, how I realized that, like, without me even being aware of it, this is one of those things that like, you don't know until you know. It's one of those things like I didn't know until I knew. It felt like all of a sudden there was this cloud that was lifted, and it felt like, oh, this cloud was always, like hovering around, and I didn't know it because that was my norm, that was what I knew, right? And so through spiritual detox, it felt like this cloud got lifted. Like, that was so deep for me, and I'll explain why, right? Again, this happened because why? Because it was on so many different layers, right? It happened because, first of all, we started with the physical layers. We started with the physical layer, which meant really starting to release the mucus and all the things, all the trash, all the garbage really that I had been carrying for so many years. Imagine that, right? And so on the physical layer, the first thing that happened that was so shocking to me, it was so super shocking to me, right, was how much garbage I had in my intestines, how much garbage I had in my colon, how much garbage. Like I was going to the bathroom, I was pooping a lot, and I was like, where in the world was all that, right? I'm like, I can't believe that, all that, like, was that all coming from my body? I couldn't believe it. So on the physical layer, I will have to let me explain what happens on the physical layer. On the physical layer is attaining to your digestion and really not only colon cleanse, but a complete intestine cleanse, right? So what happens is that first you change kind of like your diet, you change what you eat. During 21, there's like 7 days preparation, and then the 21 full days of like really paying attention to what you eat, which means there is no processed food at all, right? Why this? Because we want to, our digestion is actually probably, like from my experience, is the one thing that takes up so much of our energy. So we want to lighten up how much energy the digestion is utilizing, so that we can use that energy for awakening, for releasing, and for other things that will come later. So that's the first part, right? The first part is really cleansing your colon, cleansing your intestines, and how that happens is really changing your eating habits with eating food that doesn't create acid in your body, eating food that is light, that is easy to digest, and also you get these supplements that really extract the toxins out of your guts, out of your intestines, and stuff like that. So that is the first level, that is the first layer, but that is only like the surface layer. That is only the minimal thing. And at the end of that, the last day of the detox is also a liver cleanse, liver detox. So as a result, for just the physical layer, right, like of what happens in this detox, some of the things that I noticed was that all of a sudden, first of all, like my digestion was so much better, right? I could digest food so much better. I could breathe better. Oh my God, I could breathe better. I could like accumulate energy much faster. It took so much less effort for me to accumulate energy inside of my body. I felt so much more energetic. I felt so much more alive, just on the physical level. Now let me move to the second thing that happened when I did this spiritual detox, aka awakening to spirit, right? One other very important part of this spiritual detox has been, especially for me, oh my God, like it actually changed everything for me. It changed my life. It changed the way that I show up. It changed like the way that I show up in life. It changed the way that I show up in my business, right? And actually, I remember this. Some of you who are here on this channel may even remember when I went through the spiritual detox for the first time. And actually, when I was doing it, I wasn't necessarily saying anything, but everybody started asking me questions. What's different about you? You look so much more confident. What's going on with you, Dihessa? You looking so much brighter and stuff like that. And then I came out later and I shared, and some other ladies who were in my audience at the time also took advantage of an offer that Yolesa was making at the time, and they did it, and it changed their lives, and they have so much to say about it. Everybody, of course, experiences it from where they are, from what their own life experience has been, but it has been life-changing for every single one of them that has experienced it. Anyway, so the second part of what happens through this spiritual detox is something that is called emotional mapping. It was huge for me. Again, like I said earlier, throughout my trainings, throughout my spiritual awakenings, and a lot had changed in my life, right? I had changed. I had transformed so much, and I had learned how to cope with a lot of things. But then here's the word cope, right? Here's the word cope. what I didn't know at the time, right, was that there are programs, right? There are programs that run our lives in our mind, in our brain. There are programs that we literally created from our past experiences, from things that happened here and there. It's like we gather data, and then from all this data that we have gathered from our past experiences or from our DNA, from information that has been given to us, we run certain programs in our lives. And for me particularly, one of the programs, and I say this to you, Lisa, all the time, one of the programs that really ran my life, all my entire life, was she calls it self-devaluation program. What does that mean? That means that from certain experiences, and it doesn't have, the funny thing is that it doesn't have to be some big shocking thing, right? Sometimes it's very little things that we pick up here and there. For me, for example, one of the things, like one of my major programs that I ran, that I was living on, was self-devaluation. What does that mean? That meant that I actually didn't feel good enough. Even when somebody was complimenting me, I could always find a way to turn that into a negative. I could always find a way to turn that into, I'm not good enough, right? And in the same way, like the way that it showed up was, like if somebody said something that even went even close to, oh, you're not good enough, I got triggered so much, right? Like I had so much anger would build up. Like it was uncontrollable. I couldn't even control it. Like it was always there. Like it's like poking, and then right, at least internally. I didn't always show it, but internally I always had this program where I felt like I wasn't good enough. So whenever, like for example, somebody will make a negative comment on a post that I will make, I'll take it personally. And how do I take it personally? Not only did I take it personally, but like I took it and then I ran with it. I'll be processing it for days, for months, for years, right? And what I'll do, sadly, is prevent me from doing certain other things, because first of all, so much of my energy was really being utilized for processing this little thing that maybe somebody may have said, but it wasn't about other people. It was about the fact that I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel like I was good enough. And so little events here and there will trigger that, and so much of my energy was being consumed towards that. And so after I did the spiritual detox and I became very aware of that, and so what she does is that she really helps you go through major events in your life, and then like you actually become aware of what it is for you, but she guides you through it, and it's like really quite enlightening, right? I remember when I became aware of that, I was crying, and that was also like another release, and I cried. Yolesa remembers this very well, I hope. If not, she's done so many people, she may not remember, but like I remember this. Like I cried. There was so much crying involved and then there was so much release after that. Now, like when even like I remember events that happened, or when somebody pokes me like that, like I was able to, oh my god, I can look at it as, oh okay, that's separate, like like. And this is not about like intellectually knowing, right? I have to really say this, because before, like intellectually, you can say to yourself, oh, it's like when somebody says something to you, it's about them, it's not about me, right? It's one thing to say it, and it's one thing to intellectually know it. But the big difference for me was how my body wasn't reacting to it anymore, right? Internally, I wasn't raging anymore. Internally, I wasn't feeling like less done anymore. Like all of a sudden, like that's the cloud, it just got lifted. And then all of a sudden, I could think about the past things that had happened in my life, and all of a sudden it felt like it was happening to somebody else, right? I wasn't emotionally tangled up in it anymore. It wasn't really like literally it feels like it happened to somebody else, right? It's literally like I can literally, like, there is a big distance, right? It's not that I don't remember them, I do remember that, but there's a big distance between me and those events. They don't affect me, they don't run my life anymore, right? So that's the second thing, and it was so big, probably one of the biggest things that ever happened to me, right? That I was able to determine and to become aware and to really to release that self-devaluation, which means that I was doing this to myself. No one else was doing this to me. I was doing this to my own self. It really felt like, and I remember after doing the detox, I remember saying this to Yulis. I told her that it felt like I was in a cage, and then all of a sudden I could fly out. All of a sudden I could fly, and it was pretty amazing. Now let's move to the third thing that happened through my spiritual detox. The third thing was how my skin, oh my God, my skin started glowing more than ever before. Why? This is actually pretty common sense. The skin condition, for as long as I could remember, from my teenage years all the way up to even all the way up to when I did the detox, right? And then of course, like when I was doing like when I started doing belly button healing, it got better, but then when I did the detox, it got to a whole different level. Right? So why? Because of course, right? Our skin is such a reflection of our digestion and our gut, the function of our gut, and how much we can release toxins out of our body, how much garbage we can release out of our body, right? How much garbage. Why? Because of course our skin condition is related to our gut condition. These are things that I learned throughout the years. I didn't understand it before, but as long as I can remember, even from my teenage years all the way into very even late into my 30s, right, I've had some sort of skin condition here or there. That's because, of course, like I shared before, I've had constipation all my entire life. For me, it was the norm. And of course, it's related. When the body, this is my understanding now, when the body is not able to release the garbage that we always are putting in, it has to find some sort of outlet. And for me, the outlet that it has found is through my skin. And like I'll break out on my face, I'll break out on even if you look at my skin now, like there are parts of my skin when I still have kind of a lot of scarring from breaking out. But once I started like digesting my food better, it started with belly button healing exercise first, and then it got so much to a different level when I did spiritual detox. So that's the next thing that happened, and that's why I do this periodically. That's also why I'm also starting another like series of spiritual detox. I'm starting it tomorrow, Monday, this coming week, and I'll be sharing this, like the process, with you on Instagram. I do this on my Instagram stories. So if you wanna really follow and see what happens, you can actually be a witness to this, what happens throughout the spiritual detox with me this time. Follow me on Instagram and follow the progress and follow the changes that happen along the way, right? The other really tremendous and big thing that happened, especially the first time, right? And every time I do it, and my husband likes doing this also, by the way. The first time he did it, do you know that like when you change like some things, eating habit or like energy circulation or whatever, like men have this tendency to lose like 10 times the amount of weight that you'll lose as a woman. Okay, I digress. I was a little bit jealous of it at that time, at the time. Anyways, I digress. Anyways, so we did it together the very first time, and later on he does it, I do it, everybody does it on their own now, right? But the very first time I remember this, that like, you know how sometimes it feels like you carrying this weight, and no matter how hard, how healthy, right? How healthy you try to eat, you feel like you've been eating healthy, you've been eating all these like fruits, you do your best to eat fruits, vegetables, and to drink water and all this. But as much as you try, it feels like every single year you add on some some pounds. Every single year you add on some pounds. Every single year they just add on and add on. Like 5 years later, 10 years later, you look at yourself and you're like, oh my god, I don't recognize this person, right? The reason is that, again, the garbage I was talking about earlier. First of all, there's a lot of accumulation of garbage, and I'll speak for myself, right? A lot of accumulation of garbage in the body, right? Which means that unless we release that garbage, like, what does garbage do? Garbage creates lots of inflammation in the body. Garbage creates a lot of maybe water retention in the body. A lot of what else does a lot of for me personally, was a lot of inflammation. It's not being released. It actually also energy circulation is not at its optimum, which means that when we are there, no matter how healthy or how much we are trying our best to eat the healthiest food possible, it is getting harder and harder and harder to lose weight, right? And as a matter of fact, what ends up happening is that every single year we just pile on some pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds. And the other thing that happens is that when we have that much garbage and that much mucus, right, is that we are not able to process food. No matter what food we eat, we're not able to process it at its optimum. And for me, like before I did the detox, one of the things that I started noticing was that I was having to really exclude some foods from my diet. Why? Because my body was becoming super sensitive to certain foods. What does this mean? Like certain foods like cheese, for example, right? And I remember this very specifically, that prior to the detox, I'll eat cheese and I'll get very, very, very bloated, and it'll cause like inflammation in my joints, right? Especially if I ate a lot of it, it'll cause a lot of inflammation in my joint. I'll feel bloated, digestion wise, like again, like it wouldn't digest a lot. What's the difference between why was it that when I was younger I was able to process it fine, right? Fine, with no problem, and now or back then when I couldn't process it very well, right? Or that I was reacting that way. It's because I wasn't able to process it well. My body had so much garbage that it's like it couldn't take it anymore. Recently on my trip to Greece, right? This is also one of the reasons why I feel like I have to do, right? Like I have to reset my body. Recently on my trip to Greece, I discovered feta cheese. I felt like, oh my god, this is what feta cheese was always meant to taste like. It was so yummy. I was eating feta cheese almost every single day, and big chunks of it. It was so good. Oh my god, it was so good. But I started feeling how my body was reacting to it. I started feeling inflamed in my body. I started feeling how my joint was starting to be achy. And I was like, oh, my body is kind of going back to not being able to process. That was like one of like alarms. And I was like, okay, it's time for me to reset the body. It's time for me to do the spiritual detox again. And also I've traveled a lot, especially this past year, traveling a lot and not being able to eat like my regular food that I eat at home, and and all that also takes a toll in the body. So now is the time for me to reset my body, just in time for the new year. The other thing also that happened, again, like I talk about energy all the time, is that when you reset your body like that, you have so much energy. At least I had, like, you feel so much more energy to be able to focus that energy towards a new goal for the new year, for example, or towards creating something new for yourself that you haven't created yet. Right, to amplify something that you are working on in your life. So that was that. That is really a big parenthesis. But the point I was trying to make here is that through the detox, because you reset your body, you reset your gut, you reset your energetic circulation, weight loss is so easy, right? I lost a ton of weight throughout my detox, and the beautiful part is that after that it was so much like I could eat anything I wanted to and I wouldn't gain weight anymore. Why? Because my metabolism was at its high. My body was able to process any food that I would put in the body, and so on and so forth. This is why I'm redoing it, to reset again, and I believe this is why I think and I believe, for my body at least, that I have to do it periodically. Yulaisa, who created this detox, she actually does it once every I believe, now she just had a baby, she's not doing it. I believe, from what my understanding, she does it at least once a quarter, once every 3 months or so, to keep her body at the optimum level. I've been lazy, I haven't really done it once every 3 months, so now right. And I believe if you do it once every 3 months, then your body will not get to the point, if you do it once every 3 months, your body will not get to the point where it starts feeling like I felt in Greece, how my body was reacting to cheese again, right? So that's the one thing, that's what I was going to share you about this. I lost a ton of weight. My husband lost a ton of weight, and after that it is so much harder to actually to gain that weight back, especially if you keep it up. The most beautiful part about this is that once you learn how to do it, right? Once I learned how to do this spiritual detox with Yulesa, then you can do it on your own. I can do it on my own. Of course, if you want to go back to, if I decided I wanted to go back to her, especially for the emotional mapping and maybe something spiritual, then I could always go back to her. So that's the next thing that happens. That happened with me after spiritual detox. My tummy was so flat, I lost a ton of weight. Let's face it, when we carry a lot of weight on our body, on our skeleton, it is so much harder to, at least for me, it is so much harder to move our body. It is so much harder also to feel, to accumulate energy. Let's face it, it's so much. This isn't even about aesthetics. This is about like feeling the fullness of who we are. This is about feeling alive in our body. This is about feeling so energetic in our body, right? Now, the last thing that I'm going to share with you also has been big and is big, right? It's been really, this is why I say it's been really, really life-changing. Through the spiritual detox, aka awakening to spirits, a lot of my senses awaken, because this training is not, this detox is not just, again, not on the physical layer. That's just like the surface part, but it's so much deeper. Emotionally, I was like more, oh my god, I could process my emotion much better, much better, right? Much better. But also my senses opened up so much. My intuition went to the roof. My senses, I could feel and see things that I had never seen before about myself and about others, right? This is really about going beyond the 5 senses. This is so much more and so much deeper than that. And this is actually one of the major reasons why for me it is so important to do this periodically and not just once, because the more you do it, the more you awaken to your own senses, to yourself. The more you become aware of things that are happening around you, right? There are so many things that are happening around us that we can see with these 2 eyes, right? But you can, like, by doing this, like, so much of your senses, right? Senses open up. So much of your senses open up, and you gain, and I gained. Like, let me speak for myself again. I have always promised, I promise that I will share with you my own experience here. I felt such deeper connection with myself. I felt such deeper connection with myself. I felt so much deeper love for myself throughout this experience. Why? Because all of a sudden, right, when I do this, I become so much more present in my life. Why? Because digestion is good, breathing is good, right? Being present is all about being connected energetically to yourself and being present. That's it. That's it. And all that is about physiology. All that is so much connected to your physical body. Everything else, all the theories that we have, right? All, everything that, like the theories that you may have heard of, the law of attraction, be more present, be more joyful, be more whatever else, believe it or not, is connected to your body. Everything else that's making you feel sad, depressed, not being able to manifest, or feeling like you're not good enough, everything else, believe it or not, is inside of your body, right? Is inside of your body. So once you start attaining to that, once you start really, like even feeling, right? What I've always said is that when you start feeling yourself energetically on a deeper level, so much changes in your life, right? You put a distance between the problem and yourself, then you find a solution, and so on and so forth. But for you to be able to optimally feel the energy in your body, you also have to take care of your body. Otherwise, you just don't feel it. If you feel constipated all the time, believe it or not, your breathing is shallow. A lot of the time, believe it or not, you can't even feel yourself. Believe it or not, you're spending all of your energy that you could be utilizing for manifesting, creating things in your life. You are utilizing all of that just to move food out of your body. Such a waste, just a waste. All right, so this is a very long video, but I'm so passionate about this because, again, it has changed my life. On this channel, I'm making it my point to share my experience with you. Everything that has helped me, I'm sharing with you, with the hopes that you also get to experience that, and you can take a little bit of here, a little bit of that, whatever helps you. Hopefully it will make a change in your life. So with that said, Yulesa again is coming back. So if you want to know more about this, Yulesa and I will be doing Facebook Lives on my Facebook page, in my Facebook group, Bees a Love Story. If you're not in the group yet, make sure that you join. It's a Bees a Love Story. I'll put a link somewhere below this video for you to access it. And also, she will be coming with my audience. She'll be coming with us and doing spiritual detox with us also. This is going to happen in January of 2020. If you want to know more about it, or if you are interested, you're like, okay, I want to know more about this, and I would like to also join you, I'll put a link below this video for you to join the wait list, and definitely we will let you know when it is ready. That's it for this video. If you've liked it, give me a thumbs up. If you want more, I'll be talking more and more about this. If you like this kind of subject, if you feel like it's been useful to you, please subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed yet, and hit the notification bell, and you'll always be notified by YouTube, not me, by YouTube, sometimes me if you are on my email list, when I post new videos just like this one. Talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel by hitting the subscribe button right below this video, and also make sure that you hit the notification bell so that you are notified when I post videos just like this one. Bye.